Hello everyone, welcome back to Tamali's classes. In today's class, I'll be talking to you about stress response biology. But before that, let's talk about some few emotions, some few feelings that occur in daily life. So, have you ever felt that your heart is racing for no reason? You are feeling some panic, and suddenly your chest starts tightening, and you feel that you cannot think straight, and your thoughts are all spiraling. You have different, you have visions, you have thoughts, and those are all confusing. So remember that do not think that things are just random things happening in your head, because there is something happening that is called stress, and your body is literally going into the survival mode. So today we'll talk about that thing. Stay with me till the end, and I'm sure you will love today's video. So let's start with it. Number one, let's talk about stress response biology. So in today's class, we'll talk about the HPA axis and the fight or flight mechanism, which is very important because whenever we feel some stress occurring, these things suddenly start acting. So what are they? We will talk about it in the class. Okay. Now, before we go there, I'll just tell you about few things. So in our brain, there are different parts of our brain. So if you want to know details about the brain part and structure, I have a separate video for that. Please go to that video and you can check that. So here I will just tell you some basic thing about the limbic system. The limbic system basically contains three things, that is amygdala, hypothalamus and hippocampus. So these three parts of limbic system is mainly responsible when it comes to emotion and memory. Okay, so since stress is affecting our emotions, it's affecting the memory part, so we'll talk about that today. So amygdala is the part of that brain which is responsible when you suddenly feel some stress and you start fearing, you start feeling aggression towards something, or something is disturbing you, and you start feeling anxious, and you start getting scared of those things. Okay, like what will happen, what will not happen. So that part, for that thing, amygdala is responsible. Next, coming to hypothalamus. So whenever there is, whenever you feel hungry, or for regulation of such hunger and such sexual behavior, so for those things, hypothalamus is responsible. Number three is hippocampus. So whenever the hippocampus is basically for long-term memory or storing information in your brain, which is known as for storing information for long-term memory actually. That for that part, hippocampus is responsible. Okay, now moving on to that. Stress. So how do you define stress? So suppose when your body, normally the way your body acts or behaves, when your body is not behaving like that, okay, that means there is no response. The body is not responding to, specific in a specific way. Uh, okay, so it's called as stress. That time you feel stress because it is not going in the normal way. Something different is occurring in your body. Okay, so this stress may be of three types: physical, psychological, and environmental. Suppose you get an injury, or the temperature is too high or too low, that's and your body faces physical stress. And suppose you are fearing something, and you're having anxiety or depression going, so these are all psychological stress. And environmental, that means suppose there's some noise around you, or maybe there's some pollution around you, so you feel that environmental stress. So these are all three type of stresses that is occurring in your body. Now coming to stress response. So when your body feels the stress, how does it respond to it? So basically, your brain, what does it do? It will go and it will it will regulate the pituitary gland to provide a hormone known as ACTH, or you can say adrenocorticotropic hormone. Okay, and this will again regulate the adrenal glands to produce two type of hormones: cortisol and adrenal. Adrenaline is also known as epinephrine. So these two hormones, I will tell you the details later. So these two hormones are produced in the bloodstream. So when your blood gets these two type of hormones, then there are some reactions occurring in your body, like your liver will start producing glycogen. Okay, it's not glycogen, it already has glycogen. So human body stores glucose in the form of glycogen. So when this stress occurs, okay, then what happens, this liver that is having glycogen, it will break down into glucose. Also your blood pressure starts increasing, your heartbeats, it starts beating faster and faster. You will start sweating, and your vision, you'll have this there'll be some, like the vision will change. Okay, and also your digestion will start slow down, therefore you will feel something happening in your stomach also, sometimes that happens. Okay, so now we'll talk about amygdala in details. As I already told you, amygdala is responsible for the fear and aggression part. Let's talk about it in a bit more, a bit more about it, because amygdala is very important, because it is also known as security alarm of brain. That means whenever you start feeling something which is, like stress, as I said, something which is different from what you feel regularly, so your body will detected and the message goes to the brain. And as soon as brain gets that message of stress, it acts as a security alarm, because when it alarm, what does alarm do? Alarm awakes us. Okay, it awakes us. It tells us that that you have to wake up, get up. So similarly, even in the brain, when amygdala is the alarm out here, what happens when the body faces stress? The amygdala, it will act as an alarm, and it will it will awake the body. It will tell the body that you are facing stress, so time to show the responses. So what happened? What do you feel? So amygdala out here for anxiety is there, social cognition is there, emotional balance, fear conditioning, aggressive behaviors, emotional learning, emotion regulation, and fear response. These are all the functions of the amygdala. Okay, so how you, if you see the diagram, you will know that where it says amygdala is present. You see here, you can, I'll show you. Okay, you can see here out here. So this is the amygdala part out here, and see, this is this almond shape. You can see this almond shape structure. This is the amygdala out here. Okay, and since now we're talking about amygdala, so I'll focus more on amygdala only. But just for your reference, you can see hippocampus is also here present. Okay, so this is the structure out here. Now moving on to the next slide. HPA axis overview. So what is HPA axis? The HPA means hypothalamic, pituitary, adrenal axis. So in the brain, what happens, when there is a stress occurring in the body and the brain detects it, so this pathway is initiated, this pathway starts functioning. What is this pathway? This pathway will involve three parts: hypothalamus, pituitary gland, and adrenal gland. So here there's a flowchart given out here. I'll just tell you basic about it, because this will again repeat in the future slides. Okay, so you can see out here, see, as soon as the stress is being felt, what does this hypothalamus do? It produces CRH, or you can say corticotropin releasing hormone. Okay, again you can see pituitary gland will be producing adrenocorticotropic hormone, ACTH, and again adrenal glands, it will be producing cortisol. So these are all related. Okay, it's a type of, it's a process occurring one by one. Okay, but when cortisol is being produced, it will go and it will regulate the functioning of hypothalamus and pituitary gland. Okay, it will go and it will inhibit their actions. Okay, so we'll know about it, the details in my future slides. Understood? So you can say it's a negative feedback or negative regulation, okay, by the cortisol. Now coming to steps in HPA axis, a bit more in details, let's talk about it. So as I have told, hypothalamus, it will first, it will be activated, it will first it will start responding, and it will release CRH, okay, hormone, as told in my previous slide. And then it will regulate pituitary gland to produce ACTH, and then that will regulate adrenal glands to produce the stress hormone, also known as cortisol. Okay, it's a glucocorticoid. Okay, so for in response to stress, this cortisol is being produced. This is also known as the stress hormone. Okay, which will help the body to cope with the stress. Okay, so HPA axis, what does it do? It controls the reactions to stress and regulates the digestion, then the immune system, and the mood and the emotions. Okay, coming to the next slide, sympathetic nervous system. So our nervous system is again of two types: parasympathetic and sympathetic. Okay, so usually when we want to rest, then what happens? Parasympathetic works, and when it's a fight or flight, then sympathetic nervous system works. So there's a separate video in my channel for this nervous system part. So if you want to know details, you can go to that video and you can check that video out. Okay, so now let's focus on the sympathetic nervous system, which activates the fight or flight response or mechanism. So it will give immediate response, and it will release adrenaline, also known as the epinephrine hormone. Okay, what are the effects of that? Let's talk about it in details. So you can see out here in this slide. So what happens when you feel the stress? Your pupils dilate, then saliva formation is inhibited, then increasing heartbeat, relaxation of airways. So these are all response towards the stress. Okay, so it is the body's, either it will fight or it will flight, or it will naturally escape, it will run away. So these are all the things that are occurring in this sympathetic nervous system. Similarly, parasympathetic is the rest and digest system. That means when your body is at rest, these things are occurring. Okay, so this leads to the resting of the body, and this will be occurring when there's a stress. Okay, so to know the details, please go to my video for nervous system. Coming to fight or flight mechanism. So now let's talk this in details. This is very interesting and I think you will like it. See, when the body perceives a threat, okay, when it will feel that, it is facing some threat, what will happen? It will signal the brain. Okay, so brain will activate the alarm. So who is the alarm out here? Amygdala. Okay, and amygdala, when amygdala gets activated, also the hypothalamus gets activated. Then what happens? The sympathetic nervous system starts working. You can see all the functions occurring out here, which are all sympathetic nervous system. So what happens? So from threat, amygdala, hypothalamus, then sympathetic nervous system, that will lead to the release of the epinephrine and cortisol in the bloodstream. Okay, so these are all occurring. Already mentioned this to you earlier. The heart rate increases. The bronchioles in the lungs, they will dilate, and then the liver will, in the liver, glycogen will start breaking down and forming of glucose. Then even in your muscle, what happens? The blood flow will increase in your muscles. Okay, also in the blood vessels, they will start constriction. Okay, and dilation in different areas. Sometimes you will see that because of stress, you might have seen that in some people the blood vessels rupture, or you might see some people go in shock. Why? Because the body is reacting to that stress. Okay, so the sympathetic nervous system is reacting to that stress. So in this slide, in stress hormone response, it's the same thing like before only. So just a different view of it. You can see out here, this is the HPA axis. See, HPA axis. You can see that this is happening continuously. Now, in adrenal, again, two things are happening. I told you about cortisol and epinephrine. So here you can see out here, adrenal gland is producing cortisol, and adrenal gland is also producing your adrenaline. Okay, so here you can see the adrenal cortex is producing cortisol, and the adrenal medulla part is producing adrenaline. The functions are also different. You can see, because of adrenaline production in the bloodstream, the heart rate is increasing, breathing is increasing, the way you look at things, it sharpens up. And also glucose, is released in the body. Glycogen is broken down. And for cortisol release in the bloodstream, what happens? The blood sugar increases in the body. Your immune system suppresses. You might have felt that when you are in stress now, your body, it starts cooling, and your body doesn't fight. It stops fighting because your immune system is being suppressed. Okay. Also, you might see there's some people, they have stomach issues because of stress. That means what? The digestion is being slowing down. So normally things are not occurring in the body. Okay, then also it's responsible for fat and protein metabolism. Some people even lose weight because when they take too much stress. Why? Because same thing, fat metabolism is occurring. So the body is not, the metabolism processes are not occurring in a natural way, in a proper way, when there's too much stress. That's why we say that you should not take too much stress. It hampers your body, it hampers the metabolism of your body. Okay, now let's talk about role of cortisol. What does cortisol do? As I've already told you, it's a primary stress hormone. So we have already seen in my previous slide, what does it do? It will affect the memory, it will affect the mood. Okay, that means it will affect the brain. It will suppress the immunity, and your blood glucose will increase. So these are something that's occurring because of the cortisol. In the picture, you can see it's all given. So it will decrease serotonin. That means the hormone which is responsible for cooling you down or giving you happiness or resting. It keeps your mind at rest. So these all things will be, it will flip. Those things will not be occurring. Okay, now cortisol and stress response system. So already mentioned before, when there's a stress, your brain is getting activating this. It gets active. It gets activated. Alarm is being produced. So hypothalamus, pituitary gland, HPA axis is being produced. It's regulating the formation of cortisol, and at the end, when cortisol is producing, it is resulting in negative feedback. Okay, so this is basically the entire flowchart that I have discussed till now. So if you want, I can tell it till I can say it again once more. See, stress. Okay, so HPA pathway is occurring out here. This is the HPA. It's releasing cortisol. Cortisol is going to the bloodstream, so it is also giving negative feedback. That means regulating the functions of hypothalamus and pituitary gland. Okay, so again, when it's going to the bloodstream, as soon as it goes to the bloodstream, what happens? You can see all the responses. Okay, already mentioned in my previous slides. Now, moving on. This is very important. Cortisol's diurnal rhythm. So, basically in the entire day now. So, what happens? There are some, in some period, what happens, time period, the cortisol functions in different way. So, you can see out here in the picture, during the daytime, 6 a.m. to 12 p.m., okay, daytime, the cortisol level is low. So, the rhythm is normal. But as soon as the time increases from 6 p.m. later, the cortisol production is high, so it leads to chronic stress in the body. Okay. Now see the below out here. So when the cortisol is high, you see the person gains weight, anxiety happens in persons, always irritated, the sleep, he has poor sleep, blood sugar increases. Okay. Then suppose your cortisol level is low, what happens? Your brain fog occurs. That means you cannot think. Okay. Then there's too much tiredness in your body. Blood pressure will decrease. Also, you will start having cravings for salt and sugar. Okay. Now let's talk about chronic stress effects. So already mentioned to you before, if you are facing stress for a long term, it can be very harmful for your body. It will weaken your immune system. It will increase the risk of hypertension, your memory, it will be an impairment in your memory. Also, you will have sleep disturbances. So this will all lead to anxiety and depression. Okay. So negative feedback. Already mentioned to you about this part. You can see here, when cortisol is released, what does it do? It will inhibit the functions of hypothalamus and pituitary gland. Okay, this will help maintain homeostasis in the body. Very important. How can we control stress? So take a deep breath, do physical activity, sleep for a longer time. Also, talk to people, connect with people. This will provide safety to your brain. Also, try to do meditation and also practice mindfulness. So these are some of the ways by which you can control stress, because they will activate the parasympathetic system, they will reduce the cortisol levels, and also they will restore the hormonal balance, and also it will reduce the activity of amygdala. So these are the ways we can control stress. So I hope you have liked today's video. You can see my voice is already starting to give me problem. So thankfully the slides are all over, and thank you so much for sticking with me till the end. I hope you have liked today's class. If you have liked today's video and the class, then please click on the like icon and share it with your friends and people who need to know about stress, how it is affecting our body. And do not forget to subscribe to my channel for more such videos and information. See you again in my next class. Thank you so much.